Is it a direct or partial variation? How do we know? If we have a look at the linear relations on the graphs below on the screen, pause your video and think about, do they represent a direct variation, a partial variation, or neither? And why? If you look at this first graph, whoops, we can see a straight line, which means it's a variation of some form. And the line passes through y equals 3 on the y-axis. So it's not a direct variation, it's a partial variation. When we look at the graph beside it, we again see a straight line. And that graph does in fact go through the origin. So it's a direct variation because it is a straight line that passes through the origin. Finally, for the third graph, although it passes through the origin, it's not a straight line, so it cannot be a direct or a partial variation. So to recap, direct variations are straight lines through the origin, 0, 0. Partial are straight lines that do not pass through the origin. Both have a form, the equation of both graphs has the form y equals mx plus b. However, b is 0 for a direct variation and not 0 for a partial. And either graph or either equation, m represents the slope. In both situations, we can determine one variable by multiplying a second variable by a constant, but for a partial variation, we also have to add or subtract a different constant. So when we look at the equations, or when we look at equations in general, if we look at the first equation, y equals negative 2 over 3x, that looks like y equals mx plus b, but the b value is not being shown in the equation, so that means it's 0. So this represents a direct variation. In part B, again, we see y equals something multiplied by x plus or minus something, so it represents a partial variation. And in part C, we see y equals a number multiplied by x, but x has an exponent. So it is not of the form y equals mx plus b, so it is neither.